But first, the Israel Defense Forces say it's the most intense day of fighting since the beginning of its ground assault in October. Troops have encircled and gone inside the Jabalia refugee camp in the north, while also pushing into the heart of Khan Younis in the south, seeking out Hamas fighters. The United Nations says there's nowhere safe for civilians in Gaza. As the World Health Organization warns, the situation is getting worse by the hour. Scores of Palestinians have been killed, and hospitals are struggling to cope with the dead and wounded. Artillery fired from southern Israel rains down on Gaza as IDF tanks take up positions around the southern city of Khan Younis. The Israeli army releasing video of what it says are troops engaging with Hamas fighters at an undisclosed location in Gaza. "We are in the most intense day since the beginning of the ground operation," the commander of the Israeli military's Southern Command, General Yaron Finkelman, said in a statement. After taking much of the north in the first phase of its ground operation, troops have begun pushing south. The Israeli military says they are in the heart of the Jabalia refugee camp and the heart of the Shujaya neighborhood in Gaza City, and now in Khan Younis. Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi says, "We have moved to the third phase of the ground operations. We have secured many Hamas strongholds in the northern Gaza Strip, and now we are operating against its strongholds in the south." Other Israeli leaders called it the second stage of the war and said it will be difficult. Israel says it believes Hamas leaders, who they aim to kill, are taking refuge in a vast underground tunnel network.
So far, we have located over 800 tunnel shafts and destroyed 500 of these. The level of fortification is unprecedented.
At least 5 Israeli soldiers died in the last 24 hours of fighting, bringing the total number of IDF troops killed since the invasion began up to at least 80. And in the Israeli city of Ashkelon, 2 people were wounded when a rocket from Gaza struck a residential building, as Hamas and other armed groups continue with their attacks. Meantime, fresh Israeli airstrikes have killed dozens of Palestinians in the central city of Deir al-Balah and left many more wounded. This 6-year-old survivor is calling for her mother and sisters and says her arm hurts so much. Further to the south in Khan Younis, hospitals are overwhelmed with patients after Israeli airstrikes killed at least 43 people, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. Another strike on the Mayan school in eastern Khan Younis killed many more, with survivors rushed to another hospital. The Israeli offensive putting the few hospitals that remain functional at risk of collapse.
We've gone from 36 functioning hospitals down to 18, and of those 18, they're all only partially functional.
Displaced Gazans in Khan Younis are taking to the road again, following orders to flee from the IDF. They are headed for Rafah further south in search of safety. The United Nations says there are no safe zones in Gaza, despite Israeli insistence that there are. Once in Rafah, displaced Palestinians face hours of waiting to get water from the only desalination plant in the city, which is facing fuel shortages. Many live in makeshift tent cities, enduring difficult conditions and shortages.
The situation is getting worse by the hour. I mean, like there's intensified bombing going on all around.